Hey everybody, who's your Jedi here with another review for you. This time talking episode 3 of season 3 of The Flash, Magenta. And this, now that Flashpoint's in the past and we're starting to move along, it really kind of feels like this series is back on a much more, I suppose, steady ground, much more steady ground. Sorry, my throat's really bothering me. Anyway, so Magenta is a character from the comics I'm somewhat familiar with. I mostly remember her as like she was Wally West's ex-girlfriend. She had some really, really serious mental issues, and she was basically, female Magneto. Um, Here they just sort of really strip it down to a very simple, teenager, obviously probably been abused a lot of her life, and here she's a metahuman. And what I like about this episode is that the way it ultimately gets resolved, and with Barry talking her down, saying like, "Hey, you don't have to do this. You don't want to hurt all these people. If you do this, this is something that's going to be with you for the rest of your life." And he finds a peaceful solution to these situations. And superheroes stories are ultimately action adventure stories at the heart. But I always like the stories where the heroes are able to win simply by reasoning with people. And that actually, in my book, happens. Well, it doesn't happen most of the time. It happens sometimes. And again, it's an action adventure genre, so yeah, of course, there needs to be fighting. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of boring. With somebody talking somebody into doing what they want every single time. That might work somewhere else, but not really with superheroes. But here, it comes across as very genuine and very heartfelt. Barry is right that he's somebody who knows what it's like to make terrible mistakes and how you have to learn to live with those things. Also, for a show on a TV budget, the stuff with Tanker is really, really pretty well done, I have to say. And it's again, it's a very sort of superhero-y moment. It's like, oh my god, this person's about to smash a hospital with a tanker. I mean, damn. Now, kind of convenient that they're just going to sort of like nobody's going to say, hey, somebody did this and they need to be locked up in Iron Heights, and especially since Magenta demonstrated that her superpowers in front of an entire police station full of people. Yeah, I really don't know how in the world she's managing to legally wiggle out of this. I suppose a CSI horrifyingly overstepping his authority and interrogating a suspect. Sorry, the cats are going absolutely nuts just a few feet away from me. I don't know if you can hear that. And trying to interrogate a suspect, causing them to go off the deep end, might have something to do with that. And yeah, CSI was totally full of BS when they had actual CSIs talking to suspects. In real life, that just does not happen. Also, I can't help but notice that they're really kind of seem to have Tom Felton's character, Julian, seems to favor green. Like if you really look, he's even wearing a green tie, and I can't help but wonder if this is just not that little tiny nod to Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy and all that. Then again, Alchemy's outfit seems to be sort of a kind of. It's hard to tell because he's always in shadows, but I'm reading it as kind of a very, very dark green kind of color. So it's a little hard to tell. But here we get a little bit more information about how alchemy operates, and you can tell that it's only a matter of time before Wally starts hearing voices and having dreams. And given what we see him do this episode, sorry again the cats, you can tell that he really, really wants the speed powers. I mean, he's willing to step in front of a moving car and almost get himself killed to get them. And this is also kind of a really unfortunate thing with him and his friendship with Jesse. Jesse's been granted the thing he wants most in the world, and he's been denied it. And, the disappointment and jealousy are pretty obvious for what's going on here. And unfortunately, Jesse is just completely oblivious to the fact that, oh wow, he's. I mean, I guess I imagine she can tell he's a little bit bummed he didn't get powers, but I don't think she quite realizes just how upset Wally is. So let's see what else. I definitely did like that. It was of all people Barry that really just absolutely laid into Wally for risking his life trying to get powers. And it's so great that even Joe just has to go like, yeah, that kind of covers everything that I had to say. I definitely like that little moment between him and Barry where he's like, oh yeah, you're really more of a daughter than a son. I'm like, nah, I just messing with it. I mean, that was good stuff. Let's see. Nothing really huge to say about the stuff going on with Barry and Iris. The date stuff, very cute, very classic Flash kind of thing. Like while Barry pays for those flowers, it's like, oh, gee, Barry, I hope that person that ran that flower shop didn't have those, flowers reserved for someone else. And now that you've taken the flowers, have probably, helped ruin someone else's romantic overture. They go in there, Barry. What exactly is stopping you from placing an order for the flowers yourself? But I did like that little speech that kind of Barry has at the end where he says, like, look, trying to pretend that I'm not the Flash and that this whole speed thing is not part of my life, it's kind of silly. This is part of our lives, my life, and yours. We should embrace it, not try and deny it. And that makes sense. I did like that quite a bit. Let's see, what else? Not a lot to say about Cisco this episode, although I definitely did like his reaction to Magenta. His name as being just meh. That was a good moment for him. We get to see a little bit more insight into how Caitlin sort of views the whole "I'm a metahuman" thing. I mean, she's really freaked out by it, wants to take dealing with this whole thing slow, and you can tell that what she's saying to Jesse is really just sort of her own anxieties. That she herself really kind of wishes there was someone to guide her in this whole situation, which does seem kind of odd given that at Star Labs they're probably some of the leading experts on metahumans. Granted, Barry doesn't have frost powers or anything like that, but he and Cisco are some of her closest friends. So really, who would be better to kind of guide her as best they can, other than Cisco and Barry? So why Caitlin is so reluctant to come out with this is going to be an interesting thing to see. Of course, we get to see Harrison Wells and Jesse come back from Earth 2, and we find out that Flashpoint did not change anything on Earth 2, which I'm glad, and for the sake of simplicity, makes sense. And I love how Harrison Wells just starts lecturing Barry. He's like, "Yes, okay, I understand. Thank you." Now, Wells' worry about Jesse is perfectly understandable. I mean, he has a pretty good idea of all the danger that Barry has gotten into. I like that moment where they talk about, like, yeah, we've all been kidnapped so many times we've installed panic buttons on our smartphones. That's actually pretty smart. And it's pretty simple to understand where Jesse's coming from as well. Her father treats what's basically the best thing that ever happened to her as something horrible, as something terrible, something that he just wishes would go away. That this dream that she now has of basically being the Flash of Earth 2 is his worst nightmare. And Caitlin is totally right that instead that you should be helping her, guide her with this, rather than trying to pretend that it's not there, or trying to find some way to sort of talk her out of doing this. All that you're doing is succeeding in pushing her away. And it's pretty interesting to watch Harrison Wells basically just beg Caitlin to try and talk some sense into Jesse. and then her just absolutely ultimately unleashing on him after that conversation just completely falls apart. I definitely did like that whole thing. Is this because I'm a girl? It's like, um, actually, I don't think that's it. I think it's he'd have probably had that reaction too if he'd been his son, because that's just how Earth 2 Harrison Wells rolls. But we did get that sort of nice little callback with "Run, Jesse, run," and since Jesse Quick does seem to be a bit of a pet name between the two of them, probably something that not most people are going to know, it sort of makes sense that she'll probably ultimately adopt that as her code name. We even get to see a glimpse of a suit. Seems to be. I don't know exactly. I think they would have. I'm a little surprised they didn't try to make it look less like the suit the Trajectory wore, because you don't want to kind of give people the impression that she's back or that this is the same person. But I guess if she's going to go off and do the thing on Earth 2, it doesn't really matter so much. And it's not like the name Jesse Quick is going to mean anything to anybody on Earth 1, so what the hell, right? Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, it is clarified that Edward Claris is indeed dead. Okay. We're already going to have quite a few speedsters coming up this season. I think that's probably just for the sake of simplicity, which I'm fine with. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about this episode. Good episode. Definitely enjoyed it. Really looking forward to what's going to happen next time around. So, with that said, I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, and subscribe. And of course, follow me on Twitter at Who's Your Jedi. And you can also join me on Tumblr, Jedi Reviewer. Until next time, take care and have a good one.